Hello and welcome to We Talk Boxing. So this Saturday, the 11th of June, the Boxer are putting on a show which features the main event of Riakporhe versus Turchi as well for world title eliminator for the cruiserweight title. Also on the bill we have Vidal Riley as well as Brown versus Chelli as well as Kongo versus Formella as well. Again, some good fights in their own rights as well as a few other undercard fights. Richard Riakporhe's record currently stands at 14 fights with 10 KOs to his name. And he's got a KO percentage rate of 71%, which is very high for a cruiserweight fighter as well. He's also 6'5" with a 77-inch reach, compared to Turchi, who is 20 fights in total with 14 KOs and 1 loss to his name. And his KO percentage is near enough similar to Riakporhe, so it stands at 67% if you want to round it up. And again, he's 6'2" with a 70-inch reach as well. So fairly similar stats between both fighters. Obviously, Riakporhe having the better KO percentage, as well as he's the taller and he's got more reach on his opponent as well. Turchi's record, looking from the calibre of fighters that he's fought against, there's only a couple of noticeable names on his record really, and one of them was back in the days in 2018 versus Tony Conquest, as well as Tommy McCarthy as well. Both Riakporhe and Turchi have both fought Tommy McCarthy, whereas Turchi lost on a split decision to Tommy McCarthy. Compared to Riakporhe, who knocked out Tommy McCarthy in 4 rounds in 2019. So both of these fighters fought Tommy McCarthy in the same year, but obviously the difference here being that Riakporhe knocked him out and Turchi lost on points. Now for me, I'm very intrigued to see Richard Riakporhe fight. Again, he's a cruiserweight as well, and his record looks phenomenal, really, when you look at it, because he's 14-0 with 10 KOs, which to me screams out big puncher, big knockout artist, to be honest. So realistically, it could be, a first who hits kind of, potentially could be a good night, see you later type of thing, but it'd be interesting to kind of see how, Riakporhe deals with another potential big puncher. Can he take a shot? Which is something we're gonna see on Saturday night. But one thing we know is that he can deliver a shot and he can knock someone out, and he's proven that as well. So it'd be kind of good to just see what other skills he has in regards to his defense, his movement. Can he put shots together? Like as I mentioned in other videos as well, such as the Bridgerweight, the cruiserweight division was the second biggest division in boxing. Now it's moved down to the third biggest. So there's a potential here for people like Riakporhe, Anacoli, etc., to move up to that next weight, which will be the Bridgerweight division. Depending on how they get on in the future, they could potentially capture titles at cruiserweight, then move up to Bridgerweight, and then you never know if they're big enough, strong enough, could potentially even move up to heavyweight as well. So it'd be brilliant to kind of see how he gets on in his fights. But I am looking forward to it. Sorry, haven't seen much of him, so I'm kind of intrigued. But also on the card as well, Chris Kongo as well. So again, he's another fighter which I haven't really seen much of. But he has been calling out, opponents such as like Ben and Ava Aviastuin. I can't even say his name. So yeah, it'd be kind of interested to see how he gets on, because he's fighting one of Conor Ben's old opponents in Formella as well, which he's quite sturdy. Like he's a decent opponent, but to try and challenge, for, against the world level fighters, you need to be getting past people like Formella. And hopefully if he does it in good fashion and he makes him maybe look basic, or he knocks him out with big shots, then it will state a claim to say, hey, I am a big contender in this division as well. because you know what I mean, as British welterweights, you know what I mean, there's other people like Michael McKinson as well, who's also in that frame category as well, who's been calling out, as I said, Ben Aviastas, I can't even say his name. So yeah, so potentially it'd be interesting to see how that gets on as well. Also on the bill this Saturday is young contender Zak Chelli. Now I've watched a few fights of Zak Chelli, and I consider him to be a very good prospect as well, potentially, hopefully in the future. Now he's a London-based boxer, and his record currently stands at 11-1-1, where he's got 6 KOs to his record as well. Now he's only 24 years of age, and he's got a KO percentage of 46% as well. So he's got a fairly decent KO percentage, but for me it's more his skills as well. So I've watched a few of his fights, and he's got something. You know what I mean? He's in a fairly tough weight category. You know what I mean? Super middle. But you know what I mean? There's potential there really. And if he does get past his opponent on Saturday, who is Germane Brown, who is currently unbeaten himself. You know what I mean? He's had 12 fights with 3 KOs to his name. And again, he's fairly young. He's 28 years old. But if Zak Chelli, sorry, does get past Germane Brown, then you know what I mean. It's a step in the right direction, and hopefully he could then progress and potentially try and capture, you know what I mean, other belts and take on other fellow decent contenders in that weight category as well. But it's going to be a tough fight. Zak Brown as well. Watched a couple of fights. He's not too bad. He's decent, but you know what I mean. Both records, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Their KO percentage doesn't really scream out knockout artists. So potentially this one could go the distance, or one man potentially getting stopped. But like I said, you know what I mean. Germane Brown is a decent opponent. Zak Chelli for me, you know what I mean. I consider him to be the favourite in this fight. And like I said, if he does go on to win, he could progress to bigger things in the future as well. So let me know in the comments below, how do you guys see this show going? Who do you guys consider the favourites, such as Riakporhe versus Turchi, Zak Chelli versus Germane Brown? How do you guys see this show going, and who do you think is going to win? Who do you make the favourite? Please comment, subscribe, and like. Bless.